Hello everyone, I'm Santiago and today I'm going to be testing Doom The Dark Ages on the Steam Deck. So it's a verified game now apparently, and they added a handheld option, so now everything should be working pretty well. I tried it on day one and it was, well, very low performance and low resolution. So let's see if it's actually verified or it's another example of a game that they say it's verified and it runs horrible. So let's hit resume. And we're now into the game. There's black bars at the top and bottom of the screen. So by default, for some reason, it's not 16:10, which is interesting. So when it comes to settings, there's a lot of accessibility options that I really like in this game. One of the ones that I like the most is auto sprint, and if you go to accessibility, I don't like screen shake, so nice that you can turn that off. Weapon bob is pretty good. Aim assist, that's optional as well, so there's a lot of stuff that you can tweak for your comfort. Personally, again, camera shake, and also the HUD size. You can increase the size of the HUD, add more contrast, and the scale of the font on the smaller screen. I recommend 1.3 or 1.4. so it fits better on the Steam Deck. When it comes to the default settings, 720p for some reason. This is weird because 800p is supported, so let's keep it like this for now. Refresh rate, it will be 60 or 90 Hz depending on your Steam Deck. VSync on triple buffering. FOV 90 degrees. I disabled film grain, personally not a fan. Variable rate shading enabled. FSR quality, which is a higher resolution than what I was showing you when the game first came out, so that's a good sign. HDR, if you have an OLED Steam Deck, you can enable it. Motion blur off, although if you like motion blur or just put it on the cinematics, there is a handheld option for motion blur, but by default this is disabled. Obviously no path tracing, and everything right here it's on the handheld option, which is below the low settings. In the past this option did not exist. Let's give them a shot, and after that we're going to try it with custom settings. I want to thank Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video with its Black Friday deals. To celebrate all these big discounts, every hour one lucky customer will get their entire cart refunded for free. Make sure to check their Discord to see if you're the lucky winner or not. When it comes to the deals, I'll highly recommend Arc Raiders for $32.45. You can get it to run very well on Steam Deck and it's a cheaper price. Another huge one in my opinion would be Batman Arkham Knight Premium Edition for $2.31. Yeah, only $2 on Friday through Monday. Right now we're on the Friday one, but on Saturday you'll have more deals that you'll scroll by. This is just the beginning. Every hour there's new deals that are coming out each time for new games on all platforms. So make sure to check regularly, and on Monday it will be the last day, so be quick, go check it out with the link in the description. And thanks again to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. Let's continue. Okay, so to actually compare to my previous footage, this is the very beginning of the game, which is not the most demanding that you can find, obviously. Again, the very beginning, it was quite demanding when I first tried it. Obviously, there were a lot of drops when there was an explosion or something, like right here, that drops into the 30s. It used to drop way lower on release day, especially when combat was happening. Let me see if I can show you something bigger. Better gun, this one. So like this, I remember it was dropping at a way lower frame rate, something like what, into the 20s very often. A couple drops here and there, not a huge deal, but it's using the entirety of the GPU, which is a great thing. It's not 100% perfect, as you can probably notice. But again, this is not the most demanding map, so I wanted to show you something else. This is a good starting point to compare to my previous video, which again was on release date, but they released a lot of patches, and one of them includes the handheld preset. And I'm going to use one of the bigger weapons, this one. But as you can see now, there is quite a few enemies into the distance, and a bigger, more open map. Here it drops into the low 30s, upper 20s. And let's do a lot of damage. And as you can see, we're borderline 30 FPS, which, again, it might not be impressive to most of you, but if you played this game on day one, the requirements of this game are like minimum 8 cores, 16 threads or something like that, with a ray tracing capable GPU. And yeah, the Steam Deck is ray tracing capable, but it's not powerful enough to do most ray tracing out there. So this game was running very poorly, especially when I tried it on PC and, well, the Steam Deck obviously. But now that we got a Proton update, plus all the optimizations that the developer did for the handheld machines, such as, well, the Steam Deck and the Xbox ROG Xbox Ally, yeah. It's a preset that is below the low preset, but I think still looks pretty good. There is worse ambient occlusion, worse effects, and worse draw distance in general, but the game still looks pretty damn good, all things considered. I wasn't expecting them to improve it in any significant way, because lots of developers say, oh yeah, we're going to optimize it with a patch later, and most of the time it's not true. Well, in this case, they actually did it. They made a handheld preset that, again, doesn't destroy the visuals of the game, and allows us to play on quality upscaling of the Steam Deck. Again, not 120% perfect, to say it in some way. I'm going to show you my custom preset, but 30 FPS is the target to go to. I mean, 40s is nice to dream about it, but the fact that we can hit 30s pretty consistently is actually very impressive from a Steam Deck. Alright, so what would be my personal optimized settings? Well, first of all, let's use the entire freaking screen. 16x10, 800p, no VSync. The Steam Deck already takes care of that. Present from compute on. Then when it comes to the FOV, you can increase it to 95. On the smaller screen doesn't really matter that much, but I like how it looks. Sharpening, this is optional. You can put it at 20, which is over sharpened. I think 1.2 is fine. Yeah, 1.3. Film grain, not a fan. Upscaler, well, FSR looks okay. I think XeSS or TAA do a better job in this case, on the smaller screen. So the one that performs the best is TAA, so make sure you check that out. I think XeSS would do a better job, so quality XeSS. HDR, if you have an OLED Steam Deck, enable it. Motion blur, not a big fan, but if you want to use it, it's there. And when it comes to the preset, I think it's fine to keep everything on handheld, but I'll lower the texture pool size to 1536. This helps when doing a lot of enemies like I did just now. And if you don't care about ambient occlusion, you can disable it completely. I think the same happens with the lights. No, not lights, the reflections, you can disable them. I personally think the handheld preset is good enough, so I'll keep it like this. So my only changes is texture pool size, the upscaler to XeSS quality, and the resolution can be 800p, but if you don't mind lowering a little bit further, 1152 by 720 should be best. You still get the 16x10, you get the entire screen, and you can actually tweak the sharpening outside of the game as well if you want to, using the Steam Deck size menu here with sharpness. But I think with this and the game having the lowest amount of sharpening possible, you can get a great experience. So let's apply those changes, restart the game, and back into the big level. Alright, round 2, now with the custom settings. Again, now we use the entire screen, and we have a little bit lower of a pixel count. And we're using XeSS. And as you can see, we're still dropping into the upper 30s. But we should be more stable when it comes to hectic moments, such as this one. I mean, this game uses a lot of VRAM, that's why I lowered the VRAM pool size. On PC, it really did help a lot, going down to the minimum option, and textures still look great. The thing that I would say should be free will, when it comes to your choice on visuals, is which upscaler. In this case, I'm using XeSS, I think it looks pretty good. But again, TAA should give you a little bit more performance, so in that case you can actually use 800p instead of 1152 by 720. So again, that's completely optional and up to you, personal preference, as you would say. And as you can see, it's a little bit more stable. I think the texture pool size thing is what helped the most, and we're using the entire screen, so that's it. That in my opinion is a big deal, especially if we're talking about the LCD Steam Deck. Because on the OLED Steam Deck, having those black bars is completely dark, so it looks like part of the bezels. On the LCD Steam Deck, it feels like a gray area that is washed out. So things to keep in mind. But again, when it gets heavy, it drops into the upper 30s, might drop into the 20s a couple times, but completely playable in my opinion. What do you guys think? Would you play the game like this? Do you like this? Do you prefer TAA? If you haven't tried the game, of course, right now, I'd say it's completely verified. I don't really like the default settings. I wish by default they put us on 16:10 instead of 720p. But I think that the handheld options actually look pretty damn good. We still have some reflections going on, we still have some ambient occlusion, and a decent enough draw distance. But again, this is the heavier level, that's why it's borderline 30. So now time to test the dragon section. Well, one of the first ones, there's probably more. I need to play more of the game. So let's see what happens. Okay, so now we're in the part that you control the dragon for the first time. I can see a lot of pop in, but again, we're playing on handheld settings, which is below the low preset. So I'm not surprised that this is happening. But again, definitely the siege level that I was playing is more demanding than this. This doesn't seem to be a problem so far. Yep, there we go. Let's see if I keep flying around. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a problem one bit. It's completely fine. Yep. Yeah, it runs way better than the part that I was at a moment ago. Let's land. Let's see. Now I should swap to the actual map that we're playing. Yep. And here we are. Yeah, it works completely fine. Yeah, the CPU here is crying a bit, but again, we're still above 30 FPS. So a 30 FPS lock should do wonders with this game. Yep, this feels completely fine, and I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, so with a controller, shouldn't be a problem. Although the audio sometimes cuts off a tiny bit. Yep, especially when I hit the bigger enemies. So maybe there's an audio option that I'm missing. I'll check it out in the menu after this. Alright, so by looking at those two, let's now see how it looks like on my hands, because we're putting this on a big screen. So on the smaller screen, it should be looking a lot better to most people, especially me, that have been playing this on a 4K screen with the Steam Deck, so yep, let me show you that, battery life and power usage. Alright, moment of truth, now in handheld, same settings, again, 1152 by 720, handheld mode, with the texture pool size adjusted, and there we are. It runs great. The only issue again is that the audio sometimes cuts off a little when you're in a heavy moment such as this one, so that might happen. But again, we seem to be fine. Right on target when it comes to performance, so that's great. Again, I'm doing this level because it ran pretty poorly for me, especially when it comes to enemy count and yeah, the stuff going on screen. Also, the CPU suffers the most on this one. So what would I do in this case? Well, according to the Steam Deck metrics, we'll have like 2 hours of battery on the OLED Steam Deck, which is respectable, but we can do better by locking it to 30 FPS. So that's what I would recommend, either with the in-game FPS limit or with the SteamOS FPS lock. So let's do that very quick before the game kills me. So we go all the way to 30 FPS. Okay, we're now locked at 30 FPS. And again, like this, you should have better battery life, especially in smaller levels than this one. Oops, and I cannot see anything. But this is the best way to play it, in my opinion, at least when it comes to the Steam Deck. 1152 by 720 with quality XeSS. You can also do TAA for a bit better performance, and there you can push it to 800p. But I think like this, the game looks great, performs well enough. Again, excepting those audio hiccups that can come in heavy levels like this one. I still hit the wrong buttons, but that's okay, I'll get used to it. There we go. So yep, this part very heavy, and it works pretty damn well. I will play the game like this without any problems. I think it looks good enough. And when it comes to verified, I'll just change the default settings to the minimum when it comes to the texture pole size in order to make it more stable. And I'll put a 16:10 resolution instead of 1280 by 720. So we avoid the black bars. But I know many of you guys are going to ask, what about 40 FPS? Well, we're going to give it a shot, 1152 by 720. Then when it comes to the upscaler, it will be on TAA with a dynamic resolution targeting 40s. And everything on handheld, although I should disable reflections for a bit more performance. And also the directional occlusion. That's the only difference, so I apply that. And back to the checkpoint, again on a demanding map, which is this one. And the game does look worse, but it doesn't look bad, at least in my opinion. So at least without enemies, seems to be into the 40s. We're locked to 40s using the SteamOS FPS lock. Let's see when enemies show up. Yeah, we're already dropping below 40. Yeah, 40s at least in a level like this is not gonna happen, so I wouldn't recommend 40s, at least for this one. I mean, you can try, but you're not going to maintain 40s in a big level like this one. So yeah, technically possible, but not on this level with many enemies on screen. If the level is empty, sure, why not? The thing is, this level isn't empty. So here we are, first level. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so far so good. Explosion. Yeah, on the explosion it drops. But now enemies are going to show up. Okay, it does hold up better than the level we were playing a moment ago. But again, that's to be expected. This map is way less demanding and smaller. But hey, it was worth trying, at least in my opinion. The resolution still holds up pretty damn well. So yeah, I wouldn't have imagined that this was possible when I was playing the game on day one. On day one it was like, okay, this is never going to work well on Steam Deck. Well, they proved me wrong. That's the magic of custom engines, proprietary engines, better said. This is it tech, and due to this reason, they can tweak it to their heart's content. If you're playing, for example, a UE5 game or developing something there, you don't have as much control over the engine, like in a custom solution such as this one. But again, I'm pretty surprised that the handheld preset looks so damn good. Despite this game also having ray tracing, mandatory ray tracing. So I'm blown away that I only need to use quality upscaling for 30 FPS. 40s is possible, but not on the bigger maps. It's not 100% stable there, unfortunately. But we're pretty damn close, at least when it comes to non-demanding levels, to say it in some way. So in my opinion, for the sake of consistency, I'll keep it at 30 FPS with the custom settings that I recommended earlier. Maybe use TAA instead of XeSS if you want a bit more performance. But it works well. You can even do 800p if you're using TAA, so the choice is up to you. But it does work pretty damn well. I'm blown away that this is even possible. So Doom the Dark Ages on Steam Deck, would I recommend it? Hell yeah. It's working way better than I expected, especially after trying it on day one. I thought it was a lost cause, but apparently I was wrong. So GG Bethesda. Very, very unexpected, at least in my opinion. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see ya next time. Bye guys.